Hello and welcome to the GBHL podcast. You're here with your host GBHL Jamie, and I've got a very special Let's Try Tuesday for you. I thought I would sort of explain to you one of the Kickstarters that I have backed and have very fortunately received some miniatures for a little bit early as well. So the game is Panzerfäuste. I backed this on Kickstarter, I've got that screen here, a while ago. They were successfully backed. They earned 31,000 plus against their target, which was very small as I remember, about 5 or 10,000 I think it was, so they've absolutely smashed their target. Panzerfäuste is a historio-fantasy miniatures game, one where standard fantasy races are taken out of their comfort zone of the classic medieval sword and sorcery setting and went into another historically accurate time period, the period here being mechanised warfare in the 20th century. So the idea is that the sort of archetype fantasy races, dwarves, orcs, gnomes, undead, demons, etc., are taken out of that sort of medieval base and put into effectively World War I and World War II era. And it's quite interesting. Panzerfäuste was originally published a decade or so ago by Wessex Games, and they released a small range of metal miniatures. But Historical Games, who is owned and run by one of my patrons and a member of the Hobbit community, Mr. Rob Alderman, and his friend Steve Blease. And they really loved the old game, and they've resurrected it with new rules and new miniatures, which Rob came from a background from Prodos Miniatures, so obviously he's based it with resin, or knows how to mould resin, and he's done a fantastic job, which I'll show you in a video very soon. Should be putting up artwork on the screen. The original game was sort of a skirmish-sized game, and they're going to keep that base, but then they also want to make a large-scale war game, so sort of talking 50-60 miniatures. So it's something that sort of really sort of captured my imagination, as I like World War One, as quite a lot of the units have a World War One theme to it, and flames of war and things have interested me in the past, but I really like fantasy, and it's kind of cool to see this almost mini progression of going from sort of hitting someone in the face with an axe all the way up to using a Gatling gun. So, what they say on the website is that Panzerfäuste is not just a World War II game with fantasy races. Yes, the dwarf infantry are wearing German uniforms and the orcs wear British ones, but they'll be going beyond that to take inspiration from many parts of 20th century history. For example, the dwarf army contains units of armour called armour-clad Sturmtruppen, stormtroopers, that are inspired by the trench raiders of World War One, and the mashup of troop types and units will also extend to the background. Just because the German dwarves invade gnomish France, don't expect Panzerfäuste history to follow exactly that of 1940. So you might see sort of Poland take over and go after Germany, who knows. So, with sort of an intro to what Panzerfäuste is, and you've seen now some of the beautiful artwork they've got available. I particularly love the orcish volunteers, who I'll make sure are on the screen now so you know what I'm referencing, that are very, very much Dad's Army, which is also a film I'm very much looking forward to seeing pretty soon. So without further ado, let's have a look at these miniatures. And here we have the 8 orc infantrymen that I received from Rob at Vat Attack. So story for this was that I bumped into him, I was like, oh hey, we had a little chat. Then he said, oh, by the way, have you seen these? Showed me them. They were incredible, and I sort of very cheekily said, so are these mine to keep? And he was like, no, I can't give them out yet. And then he said, actually, if you do a review video, you can have them. So here it is, the review video. And I must say, these were absolutely beautiful to build, and they are stunning sculpts as well. Now Rob did want me to say that the bayonets are ever so slightly miscast on these. I think they're a little bit rounded for bayonets. I think that was what the issue was, but honestly, if he hadn't have said, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But right, we'll go down and we'll have a look at the different types of infantrymen we've got. So let's see if the camera just wants to focus or not. Have I got too much light here? So these guys, obviously, Orc Tommies, very, very cool, fully kitted out. I did a little bit of green stuff work just to fill in some gaps, but the resin, considering it's essentially a 2-man or 1-man job, the casting is incredible on them. I'm sure if you can get the detail on them. That's a little bit better. If we zoom in. Nope, lost him. Back. There. It is just so finely detailed that I don't think my painting is going to do it justice. And they've got sort of all their gear that they would have had, or that the Tommies would have had. They've gone for a very high level of historical accuracy in Panzerfäuste, which, considering it's orcs and dwarves, is highly commendable. That's this one. So we've got essentially, I think it was like a group of infantrymen, which are these guys here in their various forms. We've got a sort of a heavy gunner, as it were, with his light machine gun. Again, incredibly detailed. A little bit of green stuff work just to fill in the gaps. But just stunning, the detail on it. And like, sort of kudos to Rob for doing this. It is immense. And having these now, I'll definitely be picking up sort of the orcish battalion that I pledged for. And here we have what I assume to be is a sergeant of some sort, or leader, with his Tommy gun and big old blade there. Again, immensely detailed. You know, pots and pans on the back. And there was one guy who I noticed whilst I was building this guy here. Toking on a cigar. No, I'm really looking forward to getting these painted up, because I've not actually ever owned an orc faction, as it were. And it'd be interesting to see if in the rules the Tommies play as sort of the orcs do in other games. But I think I've backed for 2 factions, as it were. So I think I'll definitely be getting orcs for the British, and then I'll probably get dwarves for the Germans, and obviously then you've got orcs versus dwarves, which is pretty cool. I still need to clean these models up a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of sort of flash on the resin, but I thought I'd get them built up and cleaned quickly, just so I could show them on this video. And since I've got them, and I need to actually do some painting of my actual dwarves, not fantasy based, but just Lord of the Rings, I might get them made up and have a little sort of play of the rules. As I believe they are available for download for free, maybe, or it was the Kickstarter's got a version of them, which would be cool. I get to see how the game's played. I'm really looking forward to getting these painted up. Now, you've missed the Kickstarter currently, but if you're interested in getting into Panzerfäuste, you can still go along to their Kickstarter page. Just search Panzerfäuste Kickstarter. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can still sort of buy into it, as it were, despite having missed the kick. So, if you are interested in getting your hands on some Tommy orcs, some dwarven Germans, or some German dwarves, I should say, French gnomes, Polish troglodytes, or Russian zombies, which are really cool. And there's loads more artwork over on the Kickstarter page. I highly recommend getting in touch with Rob at Hysterical Games and just sort of getting on board, basically. I think it's going to be a really cool game. Very high quality resin. Obviously Rob's used his skills that he learned at Prodos to great effect to make these. And yeah, I think I'm going to call the video here, but expect to see these guys on the painting table very, very soon. If you think you'd be interested in getting involved in Panzerfäuste, click on the links in the description below. And as ever guys, be sure to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit host by also clicking the links below. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming everyone.